When you buy Kroger brand products, you feel like you're winning. That's because they offer proven quality at lower than low prices. In fact, we guarantee that you and your family will love how Kroger brand products taste, or you get your money back. So next time you're shopping for the family, look for delicious Kroger brand products, because they'll make you all feel like you're winning. Shop now, in-store, or online. Bakers, fresh for everyone.
They say every dog has its day, but when you're Lulu and your parents drive a Camry, every day is your day. The roomy rear seat is the perfect, whoa, is that the dog park? Backseat besties, it's a Camry vibe. The all-new, all-hybrid Camry. Toyota, let's go places.
It's time to get inside the Giants Huddle.
Let's go, let's go, let's go!
On Giants.com.
I like it, I like it.
And the Giants mobile app.
Boom, give me some juice.
Part of the Giants Podcast Network.
Let's roll. Welcome to another edition of the Giants Huddle Podcast, brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the Giants. I am John Schmeelk, second straight year, kind enough to join us. It's JJ After Dark. John Jastremski from the Ringer New York podcast, and everything else that you're up to. SNY, right? Still, everything he's doing. JJ, good to see you, brother.
It's a kind introduction. I'm glad that we've made this now like a yearly occurrence, so I make my trek out to Giant Camp. Wasn't too hot today. Nice in and out practice, and I know the next couple of days are going to be massive. Lions coming in, a little test before the start of the regular season, but Schmeelk, it's a pleasure to be with you, man.
Yeah, we'll see when this goes up. So just so we're time-stamping this is being recorded.
I'm the one who spoiled it.
No, that's good, because I like to tell people this, because then if we put it up later, they're like, well, why didn't they talk about that big injury? Well, it's Sunday, August 4th. So if something happens between now and when we post it, that's why we didn't talk about it. Your impressions, it was kind of a quiet practice today, only 2 competitive team sessions. Just what was your reaction seeing what was going on out there?
So, again, you don't want to get nuts one way or another with training camp. Looking at that defensive front. Now, it's going to require all 3 guys staying healthy, which in an NFL season can be problematic. The Giants and many other teams can tell you about that. But my goodness, having Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Dexter Lawrence on a defensive line, that to me is what the Giants have been when they're at their best. You know, you think about their glory days, their glory years, the Eli Tom teams. It was Tuck, it was Human Euro, it was Strahan, Kiwanuka. Zillion guys who get after the quarterback. That pass rush, that's got to be the anchor, the hallmark, the real deal. And watching those guys kind of get after Daniel Jones, you're going to be happy they're getting after different guys, not your quarterback.
Yeah, Lions coming up. And by the way, I love that is a very Super Bowl 42-ish hat you got going
Arizona.
there.
I was going to say, this is from
very
the
much
Eagle
so.
Chief one, but close enough.
No, and the colors, we had like the maroon and green in 2007. I saw Glendale. I'm like, yeah, that's what it feels like to me.
Good memories.
Yes, Giants trying to make some more good memories this week. So, when you go against a joint practice, you're someone that's done this a long time. What do you think a team gets out of those, and why do you think they're exciting?
So to me, it's the idea that you're measuring yourself against another team. You know, you're going through the entire OTA session. You're going through all these training camp practices where, hey, it's R1 offense against R1 defense. So maybe you're mixing and matching a little bit, but it's all within the building. When you get outside the building, and I think for the Giants, especially Monday and Tuesday, you're looking at a team in Detroit where you say, wow, they were in the NFC Championship game last year. They had a 17-point lead.
A couple plays in the Super Bowl.
Bingo. They could have been the NFC champ as far as I'm concerned. How do we match up with, hey, is it Aiden Hutchinson? Is it Sewell on the offensive line? Gordon, St. Brown, and Laporta and everybody that they have. I think it brings out the competitive juices. And I think it'll be cool to see, okay, Giants now have kind of tweaked their team a little bit. They should be better on defense. We'll see how the offense looks without Saquon Barkley, improvements on the offensive line, and kind of, all right, how do we look?
Yeah, I agree with you. So let's stick with defense then, as you already brought up the front. Lions top 3 offensive line in the sport. I mean, they're terrific. They don't have a weakness across the line. You mentioned you think the Giants' strength, and I agree. If they're going to be good this year, it has to be up front. That, to me, is the most exciting matchup because you got legitimate good versus legitimate good, and let's see who wins this battle. I think it's going to be fun.
No doubt about it. And listen, Detroit's offensive line, they've put a lot of resources from draft picks to salary cap space, you name it, in protecting Jared Goff, but it's worked for their team. I mean, Jared Goff has been great the last 2 years.
And he's a guy that needs it because he's not the most mobile guy. He's got to be protected to succeed.
And you also see with him, when he gets pressured, he gets flustered. He's one of those guys, if you can rattle him and get to him, you kind of notice the difference. Clean pocket Jared Goff, messy pocket Jared Goff. So, yeah, I think that's a great test right out of the gate. And, look, You have a bad couple of days, you have a good couple of days. Is it the be-all, end-all? But it's the sort of measuring stick that you say, okay, this is what – if we want to be the team that we want to be, we're going to have success against teams like that.
No, absolutely agree with you. And I think what you worry about heading into the practice is your secondary, right? You have Deonte Banks. You feel pretty good about him heading into year 2. Jason Pinnock's a vet. But then you got Dane Belton, who's a second-year guy, hasn't played a ton. He's competing with Tyler Nubin, who's a rookie. Andrew Phillips, a rookie, competing in the slot. You have Cordell Flott, who's played a little bit in 2 years, but a young guy. You're going up against one of the best drop-back passing attacks in all of football. How that young group performs against Goff and this pretty impressive set of Lions wide receivers. I'm excited to see Jameson Williams, how he's going to play now he's healthy. That to me is going to be the – talk about good versus good. This is the challenge. Can you, with something is perceived as a weakness for your defense, or at least an unknown, perform against one of the best passing offenses in the league?
Listen, a lot of inexperience for the Giants in that secondary. A lot of inexperience. They lose McKinney, and what an anchor he was at safety. But they now have kind of set up their team where it's like, look, if we're going to have success, those guys up front are going to get after the quarterback. And they're going to take a lot of the pressure off of those secondary players. And I think it's simplistic. It's kind of football 101. But the Giants secondary holding up over long stretches, long periods of time without pressure from the quarterback is going to be problematic, especially early in the year when you're trying to get these inexperienced guys kind of up to speed. Yes, Banks, you expect big step forward, year 1 to year 2, but that's something to keep in mind. Hey, defensive line, we're paying you a lot of money. Yeah. We got a lot of resources. We put a lot into you guys. You kind of got to be our dudes.
Yeah, absolutely. And a great test if you get the rookie Andrew Phillips on Amon-Ra St. Brown in the slot a lot. That'll be fun to watch. We were talking before we started, sticking on the defense. You were surprised to see Christian Wilkins brought up in Hard Knocks as a potential fit for this defense.
Now,
for the fans that don't know, JJ's a Dolphins guy.
Big time.
So tell me why and break down that whole thing for me.
Well, and listen, I understand he and Dexter Lawrence are like buddy-buddy.
Yeah, they're best friends.
Yeah. So I get that whole angle. But to me, it was far more imperative for the Giants to go and get an edge guy, to go and get somebody who can complement Dex.
Which they did.
Which they did in Brian Burns, who is exactly that sort of edge defensive end. Hey, I'm an athlete. I'm going to get past you. I just think their skill sets in this defense complement each other better, in my opinion. Even though Dexter Lawrence, Christian Wilkins are best friends, and I'm not saying Wilkins wouldn't have had success here.
Of course.
He would have, because he'd be playing with good talent. But I think for the scheme fit, for what they're looking to do on defense, they made the right call going and getting Brian Burns.
There's no better place to watch live TV this fall than Hulu Plus Live TV. Why? Because you get your favorite sports like football, local channels, shows, and so much more. Plus, get Hulu's entire streaming library with Disney Plus and ESPN Plus included with your plan. No long-term contracts or hidden fees. Don't wait. Start your 3-day free trial of Hulu Plus Live TV today. Live TV plan required. Access content from each service separately. Offer valid for new and eligible returning subscribers only if available. Terms and restrictions apply. Learn more at hulu.com.
It's just funny. After that, I'm sure you watched Hard Knocks. I don't want to talk to you about that too. But after, I think it was episode 1, they kind of had the pro personnel give the scouting reports on all the free agents, right? And one of the things, like Christian Wilkins, really good player, maybe not that third down get after the quarterback pass rusher. And then there were some smart asses on Twitter who were like, well, he had like the 5th highest third down pressure rate in the league last year. But as a guy that watches the Dolphins, he's not like your 3-technique, super athletic upfield pass rusher. He's more of kind of like an all-around guy that does a little bit of everything, right?
Bingo. And he's somebody that's going to be on the field all the time. It's impossible to get him off, which you love. But yeah, you don't look at him as the quote-unquote prototypical pass rusher. And remember, Miami last year, before he got hurt, you had Bradley Chubb. You had Jalen Phillips. You had Van Ginkel. You have his buddy Sealer, who played great. So, like, when you have a great top-notch defensive line, you can go and kind of feast. And I'm not saying that he just feasted and took advantage. No. He had some legitimate sacks. But you can kind of share the wealth, if that makes sense. So, if I'm a Giant fan, I'm not shedding any tears that Christian Wilkins is a Raider and that Brian Burns is a Giant. I think they're okay.
So you think they made the right move?
Yes, that's the move
I
would
like
make.
Burns? Do you like Burns?
I do. I mean, listen, you gave up a lot to get him, but this is somebody that they've had their eyes on clearly for the last 2 years. You saw the whole pursuit of how enamored Joe Shane was, and he had to deal with his buddy Morgan in Carolina to go and make that happen.
And got it from the throw out of 2 1s all the way down to like a 2 and a little bit more, right?
They got the cost down, but he just kind of fits Giant. Like when I think Giant prototypical pass rusher, Brian Burns fits that to a T. Got to keep him on the field. Those three guys, when I think about Giants' success this year, they're three of the 5 or 6 most important players on the team. I don't know how you argue otherwise.
100%.
You're ready for a change. Payday comes early with Citizens, so go to that retreat. New you moves to the country. Now you're raising goats and launching a lifestyle brand. Are you ready for all that life brings?
What were your overall impressions of Hard Knocks watching it through?
So I absolutely loved it. I thought this version of Hard Knocks and the in-season version of Hard Knocks are so much better than like the training camp.
I love the in-season Dolphins version. I was hooked on that thing. It was great.
You learn a lot about a team. You learn a lot about how they're going through certain challenges in a regular season. But the Giant one specifically, to me, was so cool because you saw their draft process. You saw how enamored they were with Malik Neighbors. The idea of, hey, can we maybe move up to go and get a quarterback? We saw that conversation that Joe Shane had with the New England Patriots. And I think it made the Giants look really good as an organization. Like, this is me coming at it outside of perspective. I said, wow, this front office gets it. They value the sort of things that I'm looking for in a 21st century front office. This is a great development for the Giants. And you even saw the tough conversation. It was not easy. Joe Shane and John Mara knowing, hey, Saquon Barkley sells a lot of jerseys. Saquon Barkley's been a productive, popular New York Giant. And you kind of saw the GM tell the owner of the team, hey, this is why we are going in a different direction. That's great from a fan perspective. You learned a lot.
Yeah, and you expect the owner to take the bigger picture perspective, right? And then you expect him to give his opinion to the GM, and then the GM gets to do what he wants to do. That's, to me, exactly what you want to see. And to me, that's what I took the most out of it. Look, we know about results. You're never always going to pick the right player. Every free agent's not going to work out because of circumstance. But if your process is right and you're going through it with the right mindset, eventually it's going to work. And I think Giant fans should feel confident the process right now is sound.
I think so. Now, they need to take some major step forward on a variety of different levels. We talk about that inexperience within the secondary. They invest in their offensive line. They get Illuminor, they get Runyon, they bring in Van Roten.
Yep.
They are expecting this offensive line to be much better
than
what it was last year. And listen, last year, it got off to a rotten start, and you see the importance and the significance of Andrew Thomas when he plays. We get it. He's one of the best left tackles in the sport. But there were a couple of games where it was painful to watch. Now, they evolved. I mean, they got Justin Pugh off the couch. Tyrod Taylor and Tommy DeVito had some moments. And I think a big key offensively for them, listen, Neighbors, you drafted him top 10. He's got to touch the ball a ton. We all know that. You need to be able to make plays down the field. You can't win now in the NFL if you're not making those big plays down the field. And it can't be as simplistic as, hey, our offensive line is not working because your quarterback has got to buy time. Your coaching staff has got to draw up different ways to get the ball down the field. And, John, they did in the second half of the year. You noticed there were a lot more big plays from the Giant offense in November and December in a lot of those games. So, to me, like, I'm getting ready for week 1 against the Minnesota Vikings. I'm Brian Dable. I'm Kafka. I'm Daniel Jones. I'm like, guys, we got to take some shots, and we got to hit on some shots.
Football season is coming, and so is the next college semester. If you need funding, a Citizens student loan can help you pay for 100% of your school certified costs. Get your rate quote in about 2 minutes at citizensbank.com/pay-for-college. So let's talk about the offense. You already mentioned the offensive line. We were talking on the field during practice. I mean, you watched that Dolphin game close up, being a big Dolphins fan.
It was embarrassing. From a Giant perspective, it was embarrassing.
It was non-functioning. And, there are levels of offensive line play. There's elite. We talked about the Lions, right? There's good. There's, all right, you're average. You're fine. Then there's bad, but you can manage. And then you get to where the Giants were last year.
Well, you can't run an offensive play.
Non-functional. Again, it got better towards the end once you got Andrew Thomas back. But, geez, it was really tough to watch the first 6 games of last year.
And that's why, to me, it's super important, not just your 5. It's lineman 6. It's lineman 7. It's lineman 8. They may not be starter caliber, but if you get them in with the starters, you can't have like one element of your line basically throw off the entire operation.
And you can survive one guy that can't block, but once you get like 2 holes, you can't help 2 guys. Like
especially
it's over.
Especially at the tackles.
Especially 100%.
Especially at the tackles, but. That, to me, is where, okay, you brought in some different linemen. You hope a couple of guys improve upon what they did last year. And, look, I hate to break this to anybody out there. You're going to have an injury or 2 on the line.
Always.
Every team does. Look at the different combinations of lines that are for, Buffalo was one of the rare teams. I think they had, like, 5 of their linemen start like 15 or 16 games. Don't expect that. If it happens, it's like a monumental miracle. So you got to have flexibility and you got to have versatility.
Yeah, you mentioned Van Roten. They already brought in Illuminor, right? He's stepping in for Evan Neal, who hasn't been back at right tackle. Aaron Stinney is a guy that started a bunch of games for the Bucs last year. He's here as a depth piece. So you hope that they are not going to have the wheels fall off like it did early last year. And then it comes down to the quarterback, right? As bad as the offensive line was, and Daniel Jones would say this, he did not play well enough the first few games of last year. And I think you even, JJ, want to see him throw the ball more, not necessarily efficiently, just be more productive and more explosive than even they were in the playoff year in 2022.
More aggressive.
Yeah,
That's the way I'd look at it, aggressive.
So much of the success in 2022 had to do with DJ's legs. It was scrambling, read options, running with the ball, efficient passing game, didn't try to do too much. I'm with you. I think, look, you're at a point here with Daniel Jones where you just hand him the ball, say, go do your thing, DJ. If it goes poorly, fine, but we got to hand you the ball and let you roll here. Like, this is it.
Well, and especially now that this offense doesn't have Saquon Barkley.
1,000%.
Where you can't rely on Saquon Barkley to be your sort of big play threat. Your big play threat, number one, is Malik Neighbors. He's the most explosive guy, I think, coming in to this offense. And in order for him to get the football, it's going to require you to take those shots and throw the ball. And I do think you will see this coaching staff do a really good job of getting him the ball in a variety of different ways. You see it with teams. The Eagles do it with Devontae Smith. The Dolphins do it with Jalen Waddle. And
A.J.
Tyreek
Brown,
Hill.
too, right?
A.J. Brown, like
CeeDee Lamb, go down the list.
Ahmad St. Brown, who's going to be here Monday and Tuesday. Tebow, like, all of these teams find ways, hey, in addition to, hey, just to bomb down a field, we're going to get you to slant. We're going to get you the out. We're going to get you to screen.
In space.
And let you go and do your thing and make a big play.
I think Neighbors is going to have, I think he could be the most productive rookie wide receiver this year. That's how much I think they're going to try to get him
I've
the
heard
ball.
that from a lot of people with the Giants. They're fired up about him. And they should be. Listen, I love them in college. Now, Arizona is going to have Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah.
We'll see, the connection there with Kyler Murray. But I think the number for Neighbors is like at 850 for his receiving yards. Taking a guess that's going over.
I would think that's going over as well. And I think this is a fun wide receiving core. You talk about Neighbors already, but you got young guys that haven't done it, that have to show they can do it. But Jalen Hyatt has speed. We all saw him in college at Tennessee, right? How fast he can be. Wan'Dale Robinson has some ability. And then you kind of slotting Darius Slayton in where he should be, right? As like your third guy, rather than having to be the one, which he's been for this team over the last 3 years.
And even a couple of these veterans. I mean, listen,
That's a good point.
McKenzie and Robinson have accomplishments in the NFL. Now, they have to make the team. So there's an element there where it's, hey, you have something to play for in training camp. I think the Giant receiver room is in the best shape it's been in a long time.
I mean, think about it. 2 years ago at the end of the year, Isaiah Hodgins was their number 2.
Yes.
He might not make the 53 this year. I think it
Correct.
shows you how far it's come.
Yeah, look up and down. I mean, again, Allen Robinson, he's had trouble staying on the field, but there was a time he was a number 1 receiver in the NFL. McKenzie, a couple of years ago in Buffalo, he was one of Josh Allen's favorite weapons. And he obviously has the element of being able to play special teams, which could be very important now with this whole new kickoff rule that's coming to play.
I can't wait to see this.
It's funny. I didn't watch the Hall of Fame game, Schmeelk, so I didn't really get a sense for it, only via Twitter.
Honestly, I had it on NFL Plus, and I was fast forwarding through
Yeah.
it, so I saw a little bit.
Just to
of it
see a little bit
Yeah.
of the kickoffs. I mean, it beats the alternative. The guy's kicking in the end zone
So much
75,
better.
80% of the time. How you argue otherwise?
No, 100%. Final thing before I want to go do a couple around the league things with
Yeah.
you. The first couple years DJ was in the league, people, turnovers, fumbles, interceptions, and I almost feel like the last couple seasons, in an effort to correct that, he's almost pulled back a little bit. To what we were talking about earlier, if he throws a few more picks this year,
You have to accept it.
I'm cool with it.
No, I have to accept
I
it.
will take the big plays if it means a couple more interceptions. I'm fine with that.
Well, especially because, look, it's hard. Giants won a lot of tight games 2 years ago. They won a couple of low-scoring games. That's just sometimes not sustainable.
It's very tough to
Not
repeat
in this
that.
NFL. Like, I know a lot of folks are going to look at it and say, oh, well, 15, 20 years ago, you could have won games that way more consistently. Now, with the rules being the way that they are, offense is king. So you can have elements of your defense that are great, but, like, look at the numbers for the top defenses in the league. Look at their points per game that they're giving up and compare it to what the top defense was giving up 15, 20, 25 years ago. It's drastically different.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean? That means your offense has to take more advantage. And to your point, they as an offense, and specifically Daniel as a quarterback, has got to be more aggressive.
Yeah,
I totally agree with that.
Just let it
And
go.
he has the arm strength. It's not a matter of arm strength. It's not a matter of athleticism. He
Mindset.
looks great. I'm seeing him move around. He looks A-okay after the ACL. It's grip. I equate it to being on the golf course. Grip it and rip it. That's what Daniel Jones needs to think about when he's playing quarterback. Grip it and rip it.
No layups in front of the water hazard.
Yeah, no, you got
Try to shoot the green, bro.
100%.
Shoot the green.
100%.
All right. I don't know if the Giants are going to be good enough to challenge them in the division, but I do feel like for the first time, Dallas and Philadelphia have huge questions right now. Dallas, all the contracts, Mike McCarthy, 2 rookies on the offensive line potentially. And then just the way the Eagles collapsed last year, I don't know how you could be sure that they got 2 new coordinators, they'll bounce back, they'll be fine. I just don't know how to view what's going on down there either.
So that's interesting. I understand that sentiment with Philly because you're right. They were 10-1, 10-2, tanked. They had some awful losses. The Seattle loss on a Monday night to Drew Lock. You think about the Giant game at the end of the year that would have won the division. The Buck game, they were not ready to play. Sirianni was everybody's darling 2 years ago, and now he's going to be a coach. If the Eagles don't go and have a great season, he's going to be under major scrutiny, and he's going to be under fire. That said, though, I like them the best in the division.
Oh, they're so talented.
Yeah.
They're by far the most talented.
And
I'm
I
with
know
you
they
there.
lose Kelsey, which is a big loss. Not only Kelsey maybe wasn't the center he was 3 or 4 years ago, but we know he's such a glue guy, he's such a heart and soul guy. How do they replace that? But I think the defense gets after the quarterback. Huff, they're getting him from the Jets.
I love him as a pass rusher.
That's a guy who's going to go get 12, 13 sacks on that team. I think he'll have a monster year. And obviously Saquon going to that team, he's got something to prove. He's playing with some of the most talent he's ever played with. I think you get a big year out of Barkley. Now, I'm with you with the Cowboys. The only thing with Dallas I'll say, everything you alluded to about the contracts, Dak, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, McCarthy's future, it's all there. And it seems so obvious for them to be a team that take a step back. I almost think, John, it's become a little too trendy.
I agree with that.
Just like from everyone you talk to, it's like, Dallas not going to be. And I'm not necessarily suggesting it will be any different for Dallas, but like McCarthy gets teams to the playoffs.
Like
he does.
I don't know if they're getting to 12, but if they got to 10 and made the
Like,
wild card,
shocked?
no, I honestly would expect that,
But
to be honest with you.
to your overall point about the division not being at the top as strong as it's been, I definitely feel that way with the Cowboys, and I'm in wait-and-see mode with the Eagles.
Fair. Your thoughts on the Tua contract going back to Miami?
I think Miami had no choice. I mean, you have a quarterback that led the league in passing yards last year. And I understand the system. People are going to say, oh, you got Tyreek and you got Jalen Waddle. Look at what the Dolphin offense looked like 2 years ago when Tua didn't play. If anybody can go and play quarterback in that system, then why didn't Teddy Bridgewater and why didn't Skylar Thompson go and put up monstrous numbers? I get it. There are durability concerns about Tua. There are weather concerns. We saw that in Kansas City. Now, to be fair about Kansas City, I don't think there were any teams, maybe one or two, that would go into that building and win that game in those conditions.
Especially with how good the Chiefs' defense is.
Chiefs' defense was so great. The Dolphins were signing guys off the street to get after the quarterback. Literally, they signed, I think, Melvin Ingram.
That's right,
they
Melvin Ingram. I
signed
forgot
Justin
about that.
Houston, and they signed Bruce Irvin. I mean, it would have been great 10 years ago if you had those guys, but they literally signed them before a playoff game. And listen, Tua played terribly in the game. The offense played terribly in the game. I don't think a lot of teams are winning that game. But the point being this, Mike McDaniel is the face of the Miami Dolphins. He is the guy. He's got all this quirky, zany energy. He's transformed Tua as a player. If he goes and tells Stephen Ross, hey, guess what? That is my quarterback. I want him back.
Bring him in.
Then what is the holdup? And, you know, my counter to anybody who's going to get on Tua, listen, he got paid a ton of money. I understand that. Trevor Lawrence and Tua have had similar careers. I'd argue Tua's been better in the regular season.
Same with Herbert, right? They're all in the same category.
You know, Herbert, everybody, and I understand Herbert's had a terrible head coach, right? Awful head coach. He has accomplished the same amount in the regular season that Tua has. You could argue Tua maybe has been even better in the regular season, statistically speaking.
Sure.
There's no better place to watch live TV this fall than Hulu Plus Live TV. Why? Because you get your favorite sports like football, local channels, shows, and so much more. Plus, get Hulu's entire streaming library with Disney Plus and ESPN Plus included with your plan. No long-term contracts or hidden fees. Don't wait. Start your 3-day free trial of Hulu Plus Live TV today. Live TV plan required. Access content from each service separately. Offer valid for new and eligible returning subscribers only if available. Terms and restrictions apply. Learn more at hulu.com.
And these guys got paid. Jared Goff got paid. So if you're Tua, hey, last 2 years, look at my numbers. Pay me.
You love turf. You're good at it. So you start a turf biz. Business grows, your savings grow. Become the most celebrated name in turf. Are you ready for all that life brings?
And this is why I got to imagine the Cowboys going to pay Dak, right? I mean, I just can't imagine them going back into like the Quincy Carter quarterback wilderness that they were in 20 years ago, right?
That's the problem you run into. If you're going to go and play hardball, and they have, and now they're going to, I mean, Dak is probably looking at these contracts saying, hey, I'm doing this in a year. Cap goes up a little bit more. Give me 55, 60. Why not? So it's why more than anything, when you have these guys on the rookie deal,
sign them early.
You really want to capitalize. That's why Philadelphia was able to do it those first couple of years with Jalen Hurts. We've seen it with other teams.
Now Houston's trying to do it with Stroud. They made all those moves in the offseason to try to make the move with Stroud on his rookie deal.
And listen, he was awesome last year. DeMeco Ryans looks like he's going to be a really good head coach. They have become a little too trendy, in my opinion.
I'm totally with you.
It's like,
by the way, their schedule was easy last year. They still only managed 9 wins.
And that division is tougher than people think. It's not a cakewalk division, in my opinion. Those teams will be competitive.
I'm with you. I think Houston's a little too trendy. All right, we mentioned a couple of them already. Give me a couple teams that either you think are trending too high, trending too low, surprises this year, anything else you kind of have on your mind heading into the regular season.
Okay, AFC, this is going to be obvious. I love Cincinnati. I do. I think everybody else does too.
Yeah, they're good.
But I get Burrow back. I got all these weapons. I feel like they're well coached. I'm going to be on Cincinnati, and I think people in the AFC are sleeping on Buffalo.
I agree with you.
I know Buffalo lost some guys on defense. I know they lost Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs looked shot the second half of the year. Looked totally, totally cooked. So they have the quarterback that can make things happen.
I think he's the second best quarterback in the sport, by the way.
I mean, I don't think that's outrageous at all.
No.
I mean, I'm putting Mahomes 1. I probably with health would put Burrow ahead of him. I think, but
the health thing with Burrow scares me.
It's
He
fair.
keeps having these injuries.
Well, and
I love Burrow.
If
He's
we're
great.
talking durability, Allen has been better. If we're talking regular season numbers, guess what? You're right. Allen has been better. I just think Burrow has that sort of innate
Joe Montana thing going, right?
Montana,
yeah, I got you.
Brady, he's a badass. He's an assassin. That's the best way to put it.
True.
Like, he would scare the crap out of me if I'm playing him in these big games. But, I mean, if you're talking total package, Mahomes is 1. It's easy. And I'm putting Josh Allen too.
And look,
And I think Buffalo this year, because of their quarterback, they're going to win a lot of games. That's just it. Like, if he's on the field, they're going to win a lot of games. And, you know, they got off to that weird start last year. They lost a couple of games they had no business losing.
they swapped their OC middle of the year. All that
I think
stuff.
Buffalo will safely be a playoff team, and I think at the moment they're my pick to win the AFC East.
In the NFC, anyone challenge San Francisco or Detroit?
I like Green Bay.
So do I.
I like Green Bay because I think they're well coached. I think their defense came on. Now,
New DC too.
yes, $1 million question with them. Love. Is he the guy he was in the first half of the year where he looked like a deer in the headlights? I'm watching him play the Raiders, and I'm like, this is your king? You sure about this? And then you watch him down a stretch, and you watch him in Dallas torch the Cowboys in the wild card game. I mean, that basically earned him that $250 million contract. That game and that game alone. I like their team. The South teams, I don't like any of them. I mean, Atlanta's probably the best of the bunch. But
That's one of those, one team makes the playoffs, they win the division at 9-8, and they get knocked out in the first round.
You know who I think could be better than people think? Arizona Cardinals.
I can see that.
If Kyler Murray's healthy, Gannon, look at them. They were in all their games last year.
I think they'll score. I worry about them stopping people.
Fair.
I don't know about the defensive
they might
talent
be
there.
a year away.
Yeah, I think so too.
But also, the problem with that team is that they are so tied to Kyler Murray. And you want to talk about a quarterback that cannot stay on the field. He just cannot stay on the field. It's this, it's that. He's a small. Not only is he a small guy, he throws his body around like a rag doll.
He does.
So that I look at them as a surprise. Green Bay though, and if it's not the Niners in the Super Bowl, I would say it's either Green Bay or Philadelphia.
More so than Detroit, huh?
Yeah, it's all asking a lot of. I look at 4 teams from Championship Sunday. I always feel as if one of them is going to be like either a fringe playoff team or miss the playoffs. I feel like it happens every year.
I could see Baltimore falling off a little
Well,
bit.
I could see that as well. They lost a lot of pieces on defense.
Coaching and player-wise, by the way.
Coaches, defense, and
Their offensive line's a mess.
Lamar's another guy. Are you getting a full year out of Lamar Jackson? But health for so many of these teams, I know it sounds like such like a cop-out, lame, they got to stay healthy. Certain teams, though,
the way it is.
you go and lose Lamar Jackson for 8 weeks. Are you making the playoffs? I'm not so sure.
No, I'm with you. And it's funny, the Jordan Love thing, and then we'll wrap. You know, he was on fire, came here, played the Giants. Giants beat the Packers.
I know they did.
He did not, like, I was watching him in the games on film, preparing for that game. I'm like, what, Jordan Love, this is unbelievable. He shows up. He played like trash here in that game in December, and I couldn't believe it. So you're right. I just wonder, he has all the talent in the world. Can he put it together consistently? We just don't know.
We shall see.
JJ, this was awesome, dude.
Oh, great.
Tell the
seeing you,
folks where they
Schmeelk.
can find you, and then you
Yes,
guys want to tell
of
them.
course. We got New York Sunday, and then nightly Honda Sports Night after Mets Post, FSNY, Baseball Night New York. It's a lot. Sorry, it was a mouthful.
No, JJ, it's a pleasure, man. Always good seeing you, brother.
Thanks, Johnny.
That's the
Appreciate it.
Giants Huddle podcast brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the Giants. We'll see you next time, everybody.
Hey, have you ever used Cheapo Air?
For years, and I really like it. With Cheapo Air, you can book online, use their app, or even over the phone. They've got great prices on over 500 airlines and millions of accommodations. They're my go-to for travel planning. And if you join their Club Miles program, you can earn points to save on the cost of your travel. Book on the app, and you get double points.
Sounds like it's time I tried Cheapo Air.
Call Cheapo Air at 855-247-3279 or visit cheapoair.com/podcast.
Hey, it's Bobby Bones. Are you looking to build this year? If so, there is no better time than right now to start planning and to get your spot on the construction schedule. If you need a garage, a stall barn, a storage for vehicles, RV, boat, collectibles, or even a shop for your farm, hobbies, or car restoration projects, visit MortonBuildings.com and start your construction process. With superior materials, craftsmanship, best-in-class warranty, Morton Buildings are made to last for generations. At Morton, the difference is in the details. From their cutting-edge innovations to their craftsmen in the field, they are dedicated to surpassing expectations. Their legacy of excellence spans more than 120 years, and Morton Buildings is 100% employee-owned with more than 250,000 satisfied customers. That means they're the industry leader you can trust. When you choose Morton, you'll experience quality at every step of the building process, starting before the walls even go up. Visit MortonBuildings.com to get started today.